When the Johnson family moved into their new suburban home, they noticed something strange about the house next door. It was old and slightly dilapidated, with curtains always drawn, yet they often saw movement behind the windows. One day, 10-year-old Emily Johnson waved at the silhouette of a person standing at the window. To her surprise, the shadow waved back. Over time, the family noticed other oddities, doors slamming shut on their own, faint whispers at night, and lights flickering without cause. Curious and concerned, Mr. Johnson decided to visit the house. As he knocked on the door, it creaked open. The inside was eerily empty, no furniture, no people, just dust and cobwebs. He called out, but only heard the echo of his own voice. Suddenly, he heard a faint whisper behind him. "You shouldn't be here." Terrified, he ran home. The next morning, the house next door was completely boarded up, as if it hadn't been touched in years. No one ever saw movement there again. Emma and her husband, Liam, had just bought a charming old house in Massachusetts. It was their dream home, complete with a sprawling garden and an attic full of forgotten treasures. The previous owner had left behind boxes of antiques and dusty furniture. One evening, Emma decided to explore the attic. Among the cobwebs and worn-out books, she found an old rocking chair. As she dusted it off, she thought she heard a faint whisper, like someone murmuring her name. She brushed it off as the wind. That night, Emma had a vivid dream. She was in the attic, and a woman in a tattered dress was sitting in the rocking chair, humming a haunting melody. The woman turned to Emma, her face shadowed, and whispered, "Leave." Emma woke up in a cold sweat. The next morning, she told Liam about the dream, but he laughed it off. However, the strange occurrences didn't stop. Items in the attic would move on their own. The rocking chair would be found swaying, even when no one had been up there. One night, they both heard a loud crash from the attic. Armed with a flashlight, they climbed up the stairs, only to find the rocking chair lying on its side and the word "leave" scratched into the wooden floor. The couple decided to sell the house and move out. As they left, Emma glanced back at the attic window. She could swear she saw the silhouette of the woman watching them go. A group of 5 friends, Mark, Sarah, Lucas, Emily, and Chloe, decided to go on a weekend road trip. Their plan was to explore a remote countryside town known for its scenic beauty and historical charm. As the sun began to set, they found themselves lost on an old, winding road that wasn't marked on any map. The GPS began to glitch, showing their location as no signal. After driving for hours, they came across an old wooden sign that read, "Ravenwood, 2 miles." Desperate to find a place to rest, they decided to head to the small town. As they entered Ravenwood, they were struck by its eerie stillness. The streets were empty, and every house had its windows tightly shut, as if abandoned. A dimly lit motel was the only place that seemed operational. Reluctantly, they checked in, greeted by a frail, elderly man who gave them keys without a word. That night, strange things began to happen. Emily woke up to the sound of soft humming outside her window. When she looked, she saw a shadowy figure standing under a flickering street light. It wasn't moving, just staring in her direction. In the morning, Sarah noticed strange markings carved into the wooden headboard of her bed, symbols none of them could decipher. Lucas discovered that their car, which had been parked perfectly fine the night before, now had flat tires, as if someone had slashed them. When they tried to find the old man to ask for help, he was nowhere to be seen. Even the motel lobby looked different, as if it hadn't been used in years. Dust covered the furniture, and the desk bell was broken. Panicked, the group decided to leave on foot, following the road they came in on. As they walked, the surroundings became increasingly surreal. Trees seemed to shift position, the sky grew darker, and they felt as though they were being watched. After what felt like hours of walking, they arrived back at the same motel, even though they were sure they had been heading away from it. This time, the building was completely dark, and the front door swung open on its own. Inside, they found a handwritten note on the counter that read, "Once you enter Ravenwood, you never leave." Terrified, the friends decided to break into a nearby shed for tools to fix their car. They managed to patch the tires and drove off, never looking back. As they left the town, Mark glanced in the rearview mirror and froze. In the distance, under the same flickering streetlight, the shadowy figure stood watching them. Even after escaping, the friends never spoke of Ravenwood again. But sometimes, in their dreams, they still see the flickering streetlight and the figure standing silently, waiting.